So did you know that one historian looked at the entire story of the United States, we're talking from 1492 all the way to 2016, and saw it not as a highlight reel, but as a continuous and often failing constitutional exam?
That is the huge challenge that historian Jill Lepore takes on in her book, These Truths, A History of the United States.
And we're going to pull out the most game-changing essential insights from it, some really practical wisdom that could transform how you think about American democracy.
Okay, so let's start with essential insight number 1, the 3 truths as a measuring stick.
Right, this is the core framework. Lepore builds her entire narrative around 3 ideals that Jefferson famously called these truths.
Political equality, natural rights, and the sovereignty of the people. But the key isn't just the list. It's how she uses them.
She uses them as a yardstick, right?
Exactly. The whole book is basically a running audit. It's constantly testing whether the U.S. has honored or, betrayed those ideals.
So across centuries, through industrialization, world wars.
And even into the age of social media. It reframes U.S. history not as some fixed origin myth, but as this ongoing exam.
So if we take equality rights and popular sovereignty as our yardstick, which period of U.S. history really comes closest to keeping the promise? This is a fascinating question.
And it gives you a really simple way to apply this framework to today's debates on governance.
This leads us right into the second essential insight, which is, it's a tough one.
It is. It's that slavery and systemic racism have to be at the center. Lepore's argument is that everything you thought you knew about American freedom, it has to be viewed through this lens.
Not on the margin, but at the absolute center.
The center. Because the Declaration's amazing language coexisted with what the book calls a colossal failure of political will to actually confront slavery.
And that evasion, that failure, shaped everything that came after.
It really did. This framing, by the way, resonates with a lot of recent scholarship, arguing that slavery is just foundational to U.S. history.
And this is Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel offering AI book analysis, summaries, and critiques, inspiring reflection and rational thought.
So if slavery and racism are structurally, baked into the Republic's early compromises,
Right.
What does genuine repair or justice even look like today? In law and in public memory, it's a huge question. Watch the full episode to discover the complete framework.
Okay, let's move to the third insight. This one feels very, very current. It's about media, machines, and the fate of truth.
Yeah, this is a big one. Can a democracy even survive when people no longer agree on, basic facts?
Lepore argues that changes in communication from, first newspapers to mass media, polling,
and then eventually digital platforms, that they all gradually erode a shared sense of truth.
and that's the key, right? The Enlightenment confidence in self-evident truths kind of assumed citizens could all observe the evidence together.
Exactly. But as the book gets into the part she calls the machine, Lepore shows how professionalized public relations, political consulting,
And now algorithmic feeds.
they all work to fragment public life into these increasingly insulated groups. This isn't an accident. It's a profound challenge to the whole idea of self-governance.
But here's the simple way to start using critical media literacy to maybe rebuild some of that common ground.
Yeah.
You just have to ask, who profits from the specific fragmented story you're being told?
That's a powerful question.
So if this 5-minute deep dive resonates with you, you can move next to a full analysis of Lepore's arguments, then a structured summary of each section, and end with a comprehensive critique where we test her claims against other interpretations.
So I guess the final provocative thought is this. When marginalized groups appeal to those founding ideals written by their oppressors, is that an act of radical critique or is it an act of patriotic repair?
Or maybe
Both.
both. Discover genre-based book podcasts and more essential insights at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nourish your mind on the go.